The objective of the Army Software Factory is to enable and empower soldiers to solve problems through software engineering at the edges of the battlefield. If you think about how the Army has traditionally operated, we've always sort of relied on having contractors or outsourcing software engineering to third parties. We think that the future operating environments, as technology becomes more and more increasingly software-centric, it's really important to build that capacity and that competency within our everyday soldiers.
And there's no shortage of talent within the Army. You know, we've done thousands of soldier interviews and realized that there are folks across the Army that have learned how to code in their spare time. And so we're really taking that hidden talent within the Army and operating ourselves, the Army Software Factory, like a Silicon Valley startup.
I think, it's fair to say that the Software Factory is a great initiative that's demonstrating that the Army is going to better leverage its existing tech talent to prepare to operate on those increasingly technical battlefields.
And we really care about what the users want, not just building something to some prescribed requirement, but rather building applications that go into a production environment and actually provide value to users. And we do that through utilizing future-proof infrastructure and platform choices that enable that developer experience to be as easy as possible so that we can constantly iterate and constantly put applications into production.
For as much as we talk about building software at the Software Factory, it's very much about building autonomous product teams of people that can operate by themselves at some point in the future. And that gets us back to the idea of abstracting away as much as we possibly can so that the developers can focus on problem scoping, problem decomposition, and actual software engineering. That's why we think focusing on critical thinking, focusing on tech talent management, and then focusing on operating like a modern Silicon Valley startup is how we can help usher in new change for the Army. One of the things that we're trying to do at the Army Software Factory is to pilot, just like testing software, is to pilot ideas and then scale them out once they're proven to be true. A great example of that is our pilot project, our Castle application sorter, that we prototyped with everyday soldiers. I think what's key to take away here is that we didn't build anything in a vacuum. We decided to pilot it as we developed the Software Factory concept. So we just took everyday soldiers and we asked them to observe some user behavior at some of the lower level tactical warehouses that exist in the Army. And sure enough, just by observing user behavior, we were able to build a software solution in 99 days, dev, test staging, and production in a cloud environment, which is pretty unique for the mainstream Army.
And it's pretty impressive how we've been able to use Spring and the Tanzu application service, as well as hosting this on multi-cloud, not just in Azure, but also in AWS. There's not many organizations that have a multi-cloud application in production, and that's something that we're really proud of.
One of the key takeaways for us is the fact that we're piloting small and preparing to scale large, and that's why the focus on Kubernetes, that's why the focus on Spring.
And what's really unique about this is that we've been piloting this notion of a continuous authority to operate. So within the federal government, in order for an application to be in production, it needs what's called an authority to operate. Basically, you're allowing it to be accessed by users. This typically takes anywhere from 12 to 18 months to get approval, and as Vito mentioned, we did it in 99 days. And we did this through this model of using continuous integration and continuous delivery pipelines and using the VMware Tanzu stack to be able to build and define some predefined security guardrails. So if an application passed this continuously, they could go into production without some manual intervention or some manual checklist. So we're automating a lot of those compliance activities so that we can constantly deliver value to soldiers.
Yeah, by automating everything that could be automatable, we were able to really focus on our soldiers, which is obviously the lifeblood of everything that we're doing at the Software Factory.
What we really care about is that we are enabling soldiers so that they can build and deliver software capabilities for other soldiers, that by soldiers for soldiers moniker. And that's really enabled by us working with the VMware Tanzu Labs folks so that they can pair and learn that expertise themselves so that they can eventually train other soldiers in how to build software.
So we hope we've demonstrated that we're taking an extremely thoughtful approach as we build out and conceptualize everything that the Army Software Factory is about, leveraging the existing tech talent that's inside the Army, focusing on a solution that will scale, not just something that we can do just one time. And then, of course, operating like a modern Silicon Valley company. In closing, I think there's just a tremendous amount of tech talent inside the Army, and this is a great way to both leverage it and empower it to operate as a more technically proficient Army in the future.